So we're all familiar with the RX-78-2, the granddaddy mobile suit of the entire franchise. And for the last 45 years, they kept it relatively the same. They've added more panel lining, more detail, changed some of the things, made it more anime accurate, changed the vents from innies to outies. And then 5 years ago, they were like, let's do this. The G40. It's the industrial version because I believe an industrial engineer designed this thing. It's unique. It is very unique compared to the normal design, and it feels like it's in its own timeline, obviously, but it feels like its own. It's not in the right time in the timeline. It reminds me of something from Turn A or Reconguista, which is like a long time in the future from 0079. But it's interesting. I'm glad I have it. It wasn't easy to get, and I don't think it's like cheap now. But yeah, it's they tried some unique things in this kit. And not just the design, the poseability is good, but a little too much. And I think you'll understand. First off, the head, it's got its own joint system. It's got like 4 joints. So that's kind of nice. The arms, they have this, but then they have a rotation here, another cut in there, and I don't really think that's necessary because you got a ball joint. And this flap here on the shoulder armor can move, which kind of helps get it farther up, but this little bubble piece here in the armor stops it, so I find that's redundant. Only one elbow joint, but then it has this extremely important hinge. I mean, what would we do without that? Ball joint and hinge in the wrist, which is like, it's uncommon, but it's not unheard of with high grades. The stomach, so many hinges. And you can really get it separated here and get some good bending. But you'll find the stomach armor here, because this part floats, a red piece, it'll just kind of get caught, and then the bottom part might separate, even the floating part might separate into 2 halves. So it's nice that it's so crazy, but it's a bit of a problem. And I don't like the fact that the skirt armor doesn't move at all. It doesn't separate. Although that might be another problem because there's actually quite a bit going on in these hips. First off, you've got a hinge to bring each leg down separately. And then you have another hinge which brings them farther forward together. So all in all, that's pretty good. And then you got this panel here on the thigh. You can pull out and then bring it forward. So now you've got just the craziest of kicks. Like the highest of kicks. And it does lock into place once you get it in there. And you can even get it farther out. Once again, if those skirts could move, that would help even more. But I think it does the job. And then the knees, they give you a double joint, but there's a weird cover here. Everything's a little rounder, a little smoother. It reminds me a bit of, in the 86 Transformers movie, Megatron turning to Galvatron, and he goes from like more square to more round. That's what I feel that happened here. R72 got turned into Unicron's Herald. That's what happened. And just like with the lower arm, the lower leg right below the calf can do that. So you've got not only this, but you've got that as well. It adds to the poseability. Is it necessary? I really don't think so, but it's there. Angles are great. Angles are very nice. Good tilting. Even give you a little teeny flap on the top of the foot armor. And to top things off, you've got a hinge here at the foot, but if you pull out the toe, you got a little bit of tap dancing motion. And I really appreciate the fact that it locks back into place. That's nice. So articulation, crazy. Oh, and even the thruster pack. Because, you know, usually you might get a hinge so thrusters can go up. But no, they go way up. You can easily boost down. If you played Gundam Battle Operation 2, that is a good move to have, just right down. So, yes, that's... Oh, I guess you can do that too. You can kind of like pump it out. It's crazy what this thing can do. But the problem is, it's a little much. And I find trying to get this guy into a pose, even just standing still. You'll get them on the table, and then like the foot will kind of move a little bit, and you move that, and then the thigh will kind of shimmy a little bit, and then the stomach will bend at a place. It's very hard to get it to stay in a good spot without another part wanting to move. And I do find that it's a little loose here in the stomach and in the crotch area, and it keeps separating here, and I keep pushing it back together, and it keeps spreading out. So I don't know, it's weird. Now, weaponry wise, you have the beam sabers, which are on a weird hinge because they can actually rotate all the way down, and I like that. And if you're going to rotate them, do it at the actual gray point, because I did it earlier with the beam saber, and now that beam saber will never come out again because I had to glue it because the peg broke off in the beam saber handle. Not cool, but that's my fault. And even the shield, it has the look of like the feel of the Gundam, but it's very different. More roundish, and that star is... I like the star, actually. I think the star is kind of neat. And it's got a handle. It's got another kind of handle in here you can flip up, but it can't be used when you have this other connector, which I much prefer this peg, because it just easily goes into the arm, and it easily goes into the backpack. As it should. If an ARC-78-2 can't mount its shield on its backpack, then that's no bueno. And then you got the baby beam rifle. Look at it. Oh, it hasn't grown up yet. He's so small. But it's cool. To me, it's more of an MSIA beam rifle. That's what I get a vibe from. But it still has all the little poseability. It even does this. Like, see, even the beam rifle has more articulation than it should, because you can rotate it, but then you can even move it forward and back. Something you can never do with another one. And thankfully they have a tab in here. These hands are so baby-sized. I just noticed. Look at the size of the hands. They're like little toddler hands. But no problem holding the beam rifle. And I do like the open hand. It does make it look a little bigger. Because like with the beam rifle in the hand, you can kind of mess with it so it's not so noticeable. But when the hands are open, it definitely looks bigger. Just the closed hands are really small in my eyes. And yeah, with all the poseability, you can easily get the last shot, or the final shot pose. Let's see if I can get the, there, that's kind of good. Yeah, check that out. That's nice. Yeah, it's a unique one. It is on a shelf of ARC-78-2s, this one definitely stands out. It's different. I wouldn't actually mind seeing other weird takes on the Gundam. I mean, it's weird, and it has issues, but it was something different, and I appreciate that.